The old coat hung loose on his shoulders, the fabric torn, the shoes on his feet scuffed beyond repair. No one would have guessed that the man sitting on the edge of the marketplace fountain was in fact a billionaire. His hair was left unkempt, his face shadowed with dirt, and yet his eyes still carried the sharpness of a man who had built empires. He sat quietly, watching the crowd, searching not for profit, but for something far rarer, truth. His son was of age now, wealthy, handsome, powerful, but every girl who came near him seemed to see the fortune before the man. The billionaire father feared his son would never know love untainted by greed, and so he devised a plan. He would disguise himself as a beggar and sit near the busy market, waiting to see which girl would show kindness without expecting anything in return. Most people passed without even glancing. Some turned their noses away, a few children pointed and laughed, coins rattled in the fountain, but none landed in his hand. Until one afternoon a young woman carrying a basket of bread stopped. She knelt before him, her eyes kind but steady, and asked softly, "Have you eaten today, sir?" The billionaire blinked, stunned. No one had spoken to him like that in days. He shook his head, and before he could say more, she tore the bread in half and placed the larger piece into his palm. "Take this. It isn't much, but it's all I can spare." She smiled faintly as if it cost her nothing, but he could see in her worn dress and tired eyes that it cost her everything as she walked away. He whispered under his breath, "That is the heart I have been searching for." The billionaire rose slowly from the fountain, clutching the piece of bread as though it were made of gold. He watched the girl weave her way through the crowded street, her basket swinging lightly, though he could see how light it was, nearly empty. She had given him more than she could afford. Curiosity pulled him after her. His limp in old shoes made the walk slower, but his eyes never left her. She stopped at a small house leaning against a wall patched with cracks. A little boy ran out barefoot, his laughter filling the dusty street. She bent down, hugging him tightly, and pressed the smaller piece of bread into his hands. "You eat first, little brother. I'll be fine." The billionaire's throat tightened. He could see it clearly now. Her kindness was not a mask she wore in front of strangers. It was the life she lived, even in struggle. He leaned against a post across the street, listening as neighbors greeted her warmly, each one calling her name with respect, despite her poverty. Later that evening he returned to his mansion, shedding the disguise. Only in private, his son entered the study, confused. At the sight of his father, deep in thought, "Father, what are you planning?" The billionaire's lips curved faintly. "I may have found the one girl who can see a man's heart before his wealth." His son frowned, not understanding, but his father's eyes gleamed with certainty. For the first time in years, the old man felt hope that love for his son might not be bought, but truly earned. The next morning, the girl returned to the market, her basket filled with a few loaves to sell. She greeted each customer with the same gentle smile, even when they haggled too low for her to earn anything fair. What she lacked in coins, she carried in dignity. And, from a distance, the billionaire watched now in his true clothes, hidden among the crowd. His son arrived soon after, confused by his father's sudden request to buy bread here of all places. He was tall, confident, yet bored by the errand, until his eyes fell on her. She looked up, meeting his gaze with the same kindness she had shown a beggar. The day before, her smile was simple, not dazzled by the cut of his suit or the shine of his watch. When she handed him a loaf, she slipped in a smaller piece wrapped in cloth and said softly, "For your journey home." A gift his brows furrowed. "You don't even know me," she laughed lightly. "You don't need to know someone to be kind." The son walked away unsettled by how different she felt from the women he usually met. He turned back once more to see her fixing the basket for another customer completely unaware of the man she had just left, standing speechless. From across the street, the billionaire's heart swelled. His disguise had already shown him her heart, but now watching her treat his son with the same grace, he knew beyond doubt this was no accident. Fate had placed her here for them. That evening, the billionaire summoned the girl to his estate under the pretense of delivering bread. She arrived hesitant, her plain dress out of place among the marble floors and gilded walls she held. The basket closed her eyes wide as servants guided her into the great hall. At the far end sat the old man, no longer in rags, but in the full dignity of his wealth. His son stood beside him, still holding the small piece of bread she had given earlier. The girl gasped, recognizing the face of the beggar in the fountain, and her voice trembled. "It was you." The billionaire rose slowly, his cane tapping the floor. "Every guest I welcomed into this mansion looked at my gold before they looked at my face. But you looked at me when I had nothing. That is why I know your heart is true." Tears filled her eyes as she shook her head. "I only did what anyone should." He smiled faintly. "No child, only a rare soul does what you did." He took her hand and placed it into his son's. "The test is over. You gave bread to a beggar, not knowing he was a father, searching for a bride for his son. Today you have given me more than bread. You have given me hope." The son looked at her, stunned by the truth, but his chest burned with something new. Admiration, not for her beauty, but for her heart. The girl's cheeks flushed, but her fingers did not pull away. The billionaire's voice rang through the hall, steady and full of joy. "Wealth fades, but a pure heart endures. That is the legacy I want for my son. If this story moved you, share it, so others never forget that one selfless act can rewrite a destiny in ways no one sees coming."